Hello everyone, today is December 14th, 2016. I wanted to share with you something I received from Thoth Intelligence a few days ago that has to do with geoengineering and our planet in general. And so I wanted to start by just showing you briefly. I can get this up here. I was watching a video by this fellow on geoengineering. It's Dane Wigington, I believe. And I don't know which video it was, but he has a lot of videos here on his geoengineeringwatch.org page on YouTube. So I was watching the video, and I knew things were bad, but this was really showing it how it was. It's all the data, all the facts. It's not airy-fairy. This fellow knows what he's talking about. And I was like, oh my God, one thing after another. And it's bad enough we have climate change, which actually is a natural process. However, we're making it much worse by all the things we're doing. We're making it happen faster and more severe. And geoengineering, like a HARP and all of these things, is the worst factor, I would say, even worse than the emissions from our factories and things. It's just really bad. However, of course, the worst emissions that we create are from livestock industry, cattle industry and all of that. If we stopped eating meat, it would go way down right there. But let's get back on the topic of geoengineering, because they were talking about, so many things that they're doing there. They're just destroying the planet. And you have to ask why. Well, most people say, well, the reason is because they're trying to actually save the planet from climate change, but they're really stupid and they're doing all kinds of things to harm it instead. Well, that really doesn't make sense. Yeah, there's stupid people in the world, and maybe they have their fingers on the buttons, but the people that are controlling that whole process know better. They would know better. They would know that they're harming the planet more than they're curing it. Much more. A dozen, thousand, million times more. So that's not the reason. And as I was watching this, Thoth came in loud and clear. I say Thoth came in. I felt that the Thoth intelligence come into my field and give me these answers. What is really behind it are the archons. That's what they're being called. Thoth calls it the archonic cloud, which infiltrates the minds and hearts of certain persons, beings, off planet, on planet, that are magnetized to those energies because of their lack of connection to their own soul intelligence. And the archons and the beings that are off planet, not on our earth, that serve that archonic cloud, and they're captivated by it, you might say. Certain ones that have been involved in their own agenda here on the planet. There are many agendas by many different beings, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. But we're talking about the ones that really have an eye on creating a world for themselves here. And they are controlling this or influencing this geoengineering business because they wish to create a planet that they can live on. We couldn't breathe on it, but they could. So they're actually in the process of creating their planet, changing ours to theirs. Now I was like, this is too much information. I don't even want to know this. I was already heartsick about the geoengineering, and now you're telling me this? This is not good. It's like, I don't want to hear it. However, I kind of felt, Thoth's personal energy appearing, because there is a real personal Thoth, and at least from the perspective of a being that can communicate directly. And he said, but it does get better here. Let me give you the rest of the news. First of all, well, there are a lot of factors involved. One of them is, as they break down all this stuff and create all this toxic stuff, actually out of all of this toxic stuff comes some substances, new substances, that will help us to create the platform we need to send us into the new Earth star. I know that sounds like a real roundabout route, but actually out of the stuff the soup that they create, some of these factors can be drawn into the Pyramidus radius, where these higher light beings are working with creating new alchemy for the planet. I'm not going to get way into that. I don't even know what's way into that at this point, but that's one thing. The other thing is the Pyramidus radius matrix that is not on another planet, not in another reality. It's not in the new Earth star. It is the bridging between the two. And this bridging I didn't even know about. I just thought we went from here to there. I didn't even know about it till about, I guess it's been about 4 years now. I don't know why that it was introduced to me so lately, since I've been knowing about the new Earth star since 1980s. But, this is how these things are. And I'm not the ultimate insight on the planet. I'm just this one person that is receiving certain things at certain times from this master source. Or I assume that I am. I believe that I am. I can't know it for sure, but this is how I operate. I operate on the faith that this is, for the largest part, true information, and that I've been doing this all my life, since I was 18 and really previous to that. And I feel drawn to do it, and I share it as my experience. And in my experience, in my little Maya world, Thoth is speaking to me one way or another, and he is a good, shining source of true information. Now, I may be mistranslating some of it. I'm almost surely mistranslating some of it. I mean, we're talking about over 50 years here. So you know that in the course of time, I've missed some things. I've gotten some things wrong. I didn't understand some things. I've even gone back and found a few of them and corrected them publicly. The ones that I have found and corrected were not big things, but they were things that, oh, this is not quite right, or this needs to be changed. I didn't quite understand this, and now I do. I see the bigger picture now, so I'm going to go back and, re-talk about this topic. So this is the way I work with this energy. It's not this perfected, from God's mouth to mine kind of thing. So I didn't mean to get off on that, but I really want to stress that I'm doing the best I can here with this. So I didn't know about the Pyramidus radius matrix until about 4 years ago. And this makes a big difference in things, because when you see that there's a platform on this planet that we are working with, or will be working with, are really already, but, it's growing and growing. When you understand this, then you realize that we have an ability to set some things into proper order before this big light principle 40 thing that just basically catapults people and parts of the planet, and we're speaking in light code form here, into the new Earth star reality. That's our bodies and the planet itself, our bodies in light coded patterns, which is important, and I won't go off into all that reason why we got to take that with us. We can reform it and recreate it in any way we want to on the other side, but we need those codes. That's another topic, and I've actually talked about that before, so I won't get into that here. But let me get back to this. Okay, so we have this matrix, this pyramid radius matrix, where all these things are going to be happening in. As it develops, our realities are going to start focusing on that. Now, you don't need to know what I'm saying here. You don't need to know pyramidus radius matrix. It could be called something else by somebody else. These are keywords that Thoth has given me. In fact, he gave me this really long name for it. And I said, there's no way I can remember that name. I can spell that name. It'll take me forever to type it because of my dyslexia. Please give me something else. So I have the name officially listed on the crystalline matrix site. But I use another term, and this is the other term he gave me, pyramidus radius matrix. So it's my own little word for it. But what it is the platform where all these things take place. And as we focus on this more as a human element, and that people don't even need to know it exists at first, they're going to start becoming aware of it. They can create their own names for it. They can see it a little bit differently. Each person's kind of like, oh, well, what is this? And people are going to start understanding it more, coming up with new terms for it, and better information than I have probably as this goes along, But it's happening rather quickly. And I don't think it's going to take hundreds of years here. We're talking about a shorter period of time, and we're going to be living within that matrix. And the people that aren't living within it are not going to really recognize us or know that we're here, and we're not going to really see that they're there very much. It's kind of going to be already a division of worlds before we even get into what is so-called ascension into the new Earth star. I don't really even understand how that's going to work, honestly, but I'm just trusting that it will. So I needed to set that up before I tell you more of the new information that I just received. Let's go back to when he told me this whole planet's, going to be transformed. They're going to try to transform it into this world for these, archonic beings. And then he said, no, but wait a minute. Out of that soup that they're working with is going to come some elements that they can use in alchemizing certain things for the betterment of the codes that will be, to preserve the codes that will be transferred into the new Earth star in these specific areas of the planet where these codes are going to be kept and revitalized and kept pure for this transfer. So all these things are going on. And the places that have these safety zones are called, he has been calling since the 1970s. I received the name of Taya, T-A-Y-A, or actually the Golden Taya allotments. But you don't need to know the name. It's just these places. And you don't need to go rushing to these places, because when the ascension occurs, the actual ascension, all these Taya allotments will be in the pyramidus radius consciousness spectrum. And people will be where they're supposed to be. They just will be. So that's a whole other topic. But what he told me the other day, trying to get back to that, is that he said, you need to understand that the planet as you see it, as you're living on it now, in your snapshot reality, is not going to stay with you. When you move as you gradually move into the pyramidus radius, you're going to be seeing it as it is, and you're going to be working with it. But then as you move further into the pyramidus radius, it's going to start changing a bit. It's going to be looking a little different. Not for the worse different, but for the better different, actually. And then as we move into the new Earth star, we're taking a lot of these light codes with us, and we'll be recreating them there, and we'll have some things new, some things old, different. But the planet that we're living on now, as we see it now, is going to be jettisoned. It's going to fall away. When we go up, it goes down. I'm speaking metaphorically. There's no up and down about it. But, it's going to leave. We need to prepare. We need to turn loose of our snapshot reality world. We live in the now, and it's beautiful. There's still a lot of beautiful planet left. Enjoy it. Experience it. Take it into your heart. and know that the light codes are going to be going with us from many of these places. But don't put the mindset of saving the planet in the form you see it now, of saving the animals in the forms you see them now, in saving yourself in the form you see it now. So I said, well, does that mean we don't try, we just don't become, we aren't activists anymore? We aren't, speaking out and trying to say, what about Standing Rock? And, do we just give all that up? And he said, no, not at all. In fact, just the opposite. What is happening at Standing Rock? He gave me this as an example, and this was Thoth really speaking to me here. He really kind of come in. It wasn't just Thoth intelligence. I needed some personal understanding from this being. A good thing there's a pause button, because I'm getting a little emotional with this right now. Let's see if I can continue. But it's not a bad emotion. It's a good emotion. But when I feel the Thoth being really close to me, and talking about such vital and sensitive subjects, it can get me emotional. Because as I'm telling this, I'm re-experiencing the feeling, and I'm also feeling his presence right now. And, this is a powerful energy. I'm not just speaking about Thoth. I mean the energy that we're working with on the planet at this time. And it's early in the morning and my throat's already cracking. And now it's really cracking, so I hope you can understand me. So he brought me back to the picture of Standing Rock and what's going on there. And this is a crucial point. There are other places, there are other things going on. But right now, as we speak, Standing Rock is the place. Not because, and I'm not, he is not, and I'm not trivializing what they've been going through, standing up to the rubber bullets and the spray and all of that horrible stuff, and all the cold weather and all they're going through. I mean, this is major, what they've been going through. And that they're doing this is such high integrity. God, I can't do this. Why can't I do this? What's going on? And so back to letting go of what is the snapshot we have now of ourselves, of the planet, of the animals. Thoth is saying, look at Standing Rock. Look at what has come of that. We still go on persevering, but we do so with love and prayer. And as we do so, we don't save the polar bears like they look now. We don't save the planet just like it looks now. We don't save all the pebbles and the stones and the rocks and all the little butterflies and trees. We worship them in our hearts. By worship them, I mean, worship the divinity within it. And we respect it, and we defend it with our light bodies and our love and our energy of our voice and our prayers. But we don't try to hold on to it, because transformation is at hand. And when you transform, you have to turn loose of exactly how you want it to be now, so that it can be what it will become. You can't hold on to the caterpillar and say, oh, please, please, I want you to be a caterpillar forever, because it's going to be a butterfly. So we have to realize that when we're trying to save the polar bears and everything else, I'm just using that as an analogy, we want to save the polar bear spirit and not all the little blood cells and the corpuscles and the skin and the bones, because that's what is important. When your loved one is lying on their deathbed, you don't want to try to make them stay and suffer. You want to help them move past the barrier and take that soul, spirit, and the light codes with them and move on. And that is what we're being asked to do here. But we're not being asked to do it by stepping aside. We continue to respect them, to love them, to support them, to honor them, and to be there for them in any way that they ask us to be there for them. So back to our planet Earth, we still speak up for them. We still let everyone know what's going on and what is not right. And we speak up and say, this is not right. This is abuse. And we don't tolerate that. But we're not going to get out our guns and our bullets and our hate. We're going to get our love and our prayers. And we're going to stand there. We're going to stand in our bodies of light with our light shields. But as we do so, we have to allow the form to change. What disintegrates, disintegrates. What changes into new form, changes into new form. So we have to be on that fine line of presence that accommodates the spirit. And the parts that say to us, let us go, release us from the way you want us to be, and see us in the transforming light of who we are becoming. And so it is. As most of you know who've listened to me speak on all of these things, I don't usually get this way. But I felt those presence so strongly as I was speaking here. His personal presence. That I lived every moment of it, and this is how it outpictured for me. I hope that you will share this video with those you feel will be receptive to it, because I think that in all of my emotional body, even though I was having a little rough time with it, keeping together to be able to speak this to you, there is a powerful energy presence overlaid with my words. It's not just my words. Thoth was very present, and so much so that I was barely able to speak. So I feel that that message, that deeper message, will be sent to all who listen to this. So I thank you for listening and for supporting me in this loving effort. Aloha and aho.